insurance. Do it face to face.
Buy to let, thatched, commercial. We're your high street insurance brokers for all types of insurance. Avoid faceless internet firms.
High house insurance. Do it face to face.
See Neil and the friendly team at High Street Selsey.
High house insurance. Do it face to face.
Or call Selsey 606 552.
Hello, this is Selsey Internet Radio, telling you what's happening in our town. If you've got something interesting to share, please email us through our website, and there's a good chance your news will be included in one of our next transmissions. Selsey has relied on Selsey Life for much of its local news for more than 10 years, and we are now going to hear from the publisher, Eddie Saunders, on how he got it started and how he's looking forward to working with Selsey Internet Radio to tell all of us what's going on in our town.
This is Hugh Graham. I'm in the High Street and I'm just about to go into the offices of Selsey Life, where I'm hoping to talk to one of the editors, Eddie Saunders. Eddie, how long have you been publishing Selsey Life?
For approximately 15 years.
So how many issues is that?
Oh, 180-ish, something like that.
Straight. And you produce this every month?
Yes.
There used to be a time when you would miss 1 or 2 months a year. So that was either Christmas or the summer holidays or something?
Yes. Sometimes in the summer we miss one.
So if you've done 180 issues, it's probably 15, 16 or maybe even 70 years you've been at this.
Yes.
Right. I know that when you began, you were also publishing local business directories. Did Selsey Life come out of the directory business, or was it just something that you wanted to do?
I just felt that Selsey was growing, and we had obviously we get news in the Observer every week. But I felt that as Selsey was growing, we needed more news to spread around. Yep.
So you decided it would be a service to the community?
We decided to give it a try and see if it would work. And
did it begin as a monthly, or did you start off as a quarterly?
No, we started off as a monthly.
Did you?
And it sort of grew from there.
Okay. There was a rumour recently that you were going to consider charging for it, and I think the price that was floated around the village was 50p. I know you had a lot of people who said they were prepared to pay for the magazine, but what in the end stopped you for charging?
My wife, the co-editor, was against it, and secondly, it was a sort of have to be a balancing act, because if we charge for it, the circulation may reduce.
Okay.
And then the advertiser would be saying we shouldn't pay so much because there's less magazines. So we decided for now to put it all on hold.
Okay. So it remains a free sheet, and it's going to continue as a service to the community, which people don't have to pay for.
That's a foreseeable future.
So it must have been quite encouraging to know that people were prepared to pay for it. How much were they prepared to pay?
We had letters. People saying they would pay 50p. Some will say they'll pay £1. But it's all right saying that. But when it comes down to it,
they've actually got to pay for it.
Mm.
So, where do you get all the news from?
Well, lots of news comes in from various clubs and organisations, which is one of the reasons we decided to do Selsey Life. We've got a lady, Ruth Mariner, who writes all the history pieces, and we get nice little pieces in from Louise Adams,
right,
and various letters, and it all seems to come in each month.
Do any of these people get paid?
No.
So again, it's a service from the community to the community and back again.
That's correct.
You have a website, don't you?
We do.
And I'm told that you get about 10,000 hits a month.
We do, from all over the world.
Really?
Yes.
So, why from all over the world?
Well, I believe it's where people moved abroad, want to keep abreast of what's happening in Selsey, and also relations that from people in Selsey that live abroad. They go on there really to find out what's going on in their hometown, really.
Okay. Have you ever considered publishing another publication for either another part of Sussex or somewhere else?
I have considered it, but there's only so much one can do.
Okay. Tell me, the contributors that you have, some of them have been writing for you for, 5 or 6 years or even longer?
That's right, yes.
So who does the editing? Who actually edits the copy? Or does it now come in largely well enough written so that you can put it straight in?
It's mostly comes in a format that we can use, but my wife Jill, she does all the typing up and co-editing and reading and so forth.
Okay.
I'll just do the easy bit of selling the advertising.
So whose idea was it in the beginning? Was it a joint idea, or was it an extension of the business magazines?
It's really an extension from the directories that I was producing, and I just thought perhaps we'll try it and see if we could do a magazine as well.
And was it successful from the word go?
Yes.
How many copies did you produce for the first issue?
3,000.
3,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you've got... I know there are 4,000 houses thereabouts in Selsey. So you're producing enough copies for everyone in Selsey to get one, or for every household. How many copies are left at the end of the month?
When I go around the next month with the magazine, I'll be lucky if I pick up 10 magazines.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which I do if they're there, I'll pick them up.
Okay. And they go all over the world?
Yes, people send them out to as well, all over the world.
Well, now you're going to have, not competition, but there's going to be, Selsey's going to have its own voice. Selsey Internet Radio is being launched very shortly, and that's going to be a service to the community as well. Will you be helping them?
I'm sure I'll be able to help them in some sort of capacity.
Do you think it would be, perhaps it could be some sort of reciprocal arrangement whereby some of the things that Selsey Internet Radio does might be of use to Selsey Life and vice versa?
Yes, I think that would work quite well.
Do you think also that there'd be a situation where, would you be happy, because there must be some people in Selsey who are visually impaired, would you be happy for somebody on the radio station to be reading for those people stuff straight out of Selsey Life?
That would be a very good idea.
Okay. Eddie, thank you very much, and I continue to wish the best for Selsey Life.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Eddie. It was really interesting. And now Emma Cawley, who is the secretary, tells Bob all about Selsey's youth stream.
Hello, I'm Bob Arnold. Since moving to Selsey last year, I have heard Youthstream mentioned many times, but I must admit I know very little about what's behind that name. So today I've invited along Emma Cawley, who's the Secretary of Youthstream, to tell me a little more about this important aspect of activity within the Selsey community. So Emma, what is Youthstream? Is it literally a dream or is it reality?
Hello Bob. Youthstream is definitely a reality. It was formed about 2 years ago by Mike Nichols, Jason Bream and Duncan Thrussell, who at the time was a youth work leader at the youth wing, which is now sadly closed. At the time, West Sussex County Council were making cuts in the youth sector, and it became apparent that big changes were coming our way in Selsey, and a lot of things were either going to be cut down or closed. And this, since then, has happened. The youth wing is closed, and there are no West Sussex youth provision in Selsey for young people. But at the time, the government were spouting off, as they do, about communities and the big society and everything like that. And these three guys, they took it upon themselves to grab hold of that idea and start Youthstream up, which 2 years on is still going and stronger, and really sort of a fabulous group to be part of. The idea of it was a charity-based group, and it was to keep really as much going in Selsey as there was before for young people. It's not quite happened like that though, but it's been a big learning curve for everybody, and we've gone different ways and learnt a lot in the 2 years. We at the moment are in a really good place financially and are working very well as a group. We work very closely with other things in Selsey, like Selsey Town Council, the community wardens and the local police. We've formed very good links with them and try and keep on top of what's needed in Selsey for young people, and just generally be there as sort of an umbrella for whatever's going on.
I imagine it must have been quite difficult when you got a provision from the county council which includes full-time people and paid people, and suddenly this is all taken on by volunteers, so quite an expectation to be able to deliver this.
It was, and unfortunately we didn't really have a base that we could work from to actually do that anyway. After the youth wing closed, the only place left with a youth facility in Selsey was Snack Shack, and they're so limited by their regulations from Selsey Town Council of the hours that they could use to have young people in there that we couldn't use that, and so we had to sort of look in a different line from that. And so what we did, we thought we'd form other groups within ourselves and run those, and then as we went along we've generated new feedback and formed new links with the academy now, and we're getting there to put that targeted provision back like what used to be at Youth Wing really. It's been very slow, but we're getting there.
That's good. So what are the aims and objectives then of Youth Dream? I mean, it's presumably not to actually provide a lot of provision because you haven't got the staff that West Sussex had to do it.
Well, in the original remit of when Mike, Duncan and Jason got together, unfortunately that's changed now because we couldn't put in that provision that they had because of the lack of facility. So now our aims and objectives span lots of different areas really, rather than just that. We're at the moment we're in talks with the academy about us funding for a paid qualified youth worker to bring back some targeted run sessions on helping young people with issues like self-harm, confidence building and drug and alcohol education, things like that. We want to reflect really what's going on with young people as well, so we did a survey. It came back that what they needed was more social activities and things really, so we set up badminton clubs which are funded by us, and you pay a little small fee to take part, but compared to going somewhere else and hiring a court, etc., it's much better on the pocket for young people and parents. There's also a drama group which is done some fabulous work in the last year and had great reviews from general public and things. At the moment, our latest group, which has been set up, is called the Spaceman Projects, and this is where our kind of targeted work comes in as well, which we had an eye for in the beginning. It's young people that are running it. They're all under 20, and they've taken on the running and the maintenance of the East Beach skate park and BMX track. And with us helping them with funding and mentoring them, they're actually taking control of young people, a space for young people, and giving it a new lease of life really. Brilliant. Which is what it needed.
Brilliant. So that's actually being led by them, but with guidance from
yes,
you guys.
Yes, it is. At the moment they're doing a management training course which has been put on by a lady called Marnie Lowe from West Sussex Youth Services, because they still want to help, youth services still want to help people in the voluntary sector, but they just don't pay people to do it anymore. So she's sort of mentored us as a group, and she comes in and does little things to teach people different things and keep us up to date with what's going on and everything.
Great. Who's paying for all this then?
Well, the funding comes from different grants. Last year we were lucky enough to have the Co-op Community Fund was allocated to us, which really has gone a long way to helping us set up this BMX group and doing this targeted work with the academy. We've also had funding from Selsey Town Council. West Sussex County Council also have little pots of money, which we've had. But really our main money comes from our chairman Mike Nichols, who's quite a ninja at sort of finding, knowing how to get these grants and things from different places. So we can sort of owe him a great deal of thanks for all his hard work in that area, really. Yeah.
So he's got a little pot of gold hidden away.
Well, I think he must have a gold pen that writes the bids out, because he seems to always get them and he knows exactly what to put. So yeah.
Brilliant. So lots of adults doing things for youths, but do they really know what the youth of today wants?
Well, my answer to that would probably be no, and for a lot of reasons.
Right.
I think since we're all teenagers and children, the whole social system of growing up has completely changed. From the cradle, kids are bombarded with different images, information, TV, radio, social media. So they have a very different view of life than what we did at their age, I think. The issues they face growing up are very different as well, which I think us as adults probably don't understand that. They have so much more exposure to things in the world than what we ever did. So their view on the world is huge. Ours was very limited to our home, our school and our sort of immediate surroundings, whereas they're global now. As soon as they get to the internet, they're in the world. We never were. So there's all kinds of things going on in their minds, and their minds are racing far advanced than what we were at that age, I think.
We were still in hopscotch, and now they're
Yes,
learning
right.
about iPads.
Exactly, that's right, yes. So I think not enough people actually realise that. They don't give them credit enough for that. It's a hard life, I think, for young people. So now I think we need to understand that more and try not to look at it as too negative, really, and look on
youth
them
often
as
gets
to-
a bad image, doesn't it? And, from what you're saying, there's a lot more positiveness about youth than we give them credit for. And you've got people there working on. You mentioned the Spaceman project, and I think that's great that we're encouraging youths to, run their own business, as it were. Do we talk to the youths at any point and say to them, well, what do you want?
Well, we do try to do that. We try to stay in focus and communicate with them. I myself have got teenagers, so my whole life is surrounded by what their needs and things are. So I think I'm quite switched on compared to a lot of people, and also having the youth work background as well. So I worked at Youth Wing for a while and got the idea of what that side of things are about. Of course, it's not all negative, or not all young people are negative. It's just how they're perceived in society and in the press, and it's like all walks of life. There's good and bad everywhere, and every society, good and bad. So
well, the bad gets publicised and the new doesn't, and the good doesn't. So perhaps we ought to be singing their praises and waving the flags a bit more when they do succeed in things.
Well, that's right. There's a lot of good things going on there, a lot of good young people which are doing great things. And I think, in a lot of ways we need, as a nation now, to start celebrating young people and value them more and what they contribute to society and what they're going to in the future as well.
So this has all been going about 2 years, so it sounds to me as if in that time there's an awful lot of good work been done. I guess that things are going to carry on, and the thing will get bigger and develop and deliver more to the community over the next X number of years.
Yes, it will. It's grown already. Yes, it's over the last 2 years. The views of what were needed when it started have changed, and it can only get bigger. It's not going to stagnate, stay the same. There's much more to come from Youth Dream.
That's brilliant.
So,
That's brilliant.
yes.
Well, wish you and all the others at Ustream the very best of luck in what you're doing. I think it's a great job, and we're looking forward to hearing more and more of some of the good things that are happening in the community. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Emma and Bob, that was fascinating. Now it's time for this week's short story, which is read for us by Ellis Berg.
An interview with Sir Roderick Probert. It was a long time since I'd seen a Selsey drama production, and I was looking for something different to review. Tickets had been posted to me with a flyer and a programme, and it seemed a shame not to grace their show with 500 words or so. It would also be a much-needed exercise in being diplomatic while at the same time allowing for truth to prevail. Reviewers can often profit from it. I parked my car, crossed the road, and entered the town hall. It was all I expected. Dusty hall, plastic chairs, black tap wine, and an ageing cast. Light on the men, heavy on the women. What more could a reporter ask for? I looked at the programme. Prima Donnas Unlimited present a murder mystery. Don't do it, darling. The audience were the detectives, and sat in teams with sheets of notes and pencils. The second act would be the characters accusing each other, accusing each other of the murder. The interval would involve the audience detectives, and the last act would finish the drama and reveal the criminal. The opening established characters. It seemed that Sir Roderick Probert had had 2 wives and a boyfriend, and a Spanish strumpet slave who hated him. A nasty, self-centred old ham, he thoroughly deserved the bloody dispatch he received at the end of the first act. As the second act opened, I made my way backstage. The distinguished actor sat in the green room, comfortably ensconced in a wickerwork chair, enrobed in a camel hair coat over his shoulders, still in his broad-brimmed hat and trademarked red scarf. That he had just been murdered on stage gave him no bar to enjoying a moment with the press. I felt facetious, seeing this amateur aping an old-time actor-manager. Who did he think he was, Donald Woolfit? "Tell me," I said, "was it you or the character you were playing who was fatally stabbed just now?" He shifted in his chair to give himself time for an explanation, or, to my mind, an excuse. After all, it was a fatuous question, and I was nervous about interviewing the seemingly great man. "You mean, was it you or your brother who was killed in the war?" Sir Roderick's attempt at an Irish accent was embarrassing. "Actually, it was both." He chortled at my puzzled look. "Let me explain. You have just seen the first act of the Selsey Festival performance by the Prima Donnas Unlimited of their murder mystery play written by Thea Foote and Marie Cleary, right?" "Right," I acknowledged. "And the play showed a rehearsal, or rather a first read-through of a play, written by an ex-sister-in-law of Sir Roderick Probert." "That's you," I said. "Correct," he said. "But just a moment. Weren't you actually being played by—" "Stop right there. Are you not a theatre-goer as well as a writer? Do you not hold that the cardinal dogma of drama is—" He paused with his usual beautiful timing— "suspension of disbelief. And further, as a writer, you practice a form known as magical realism. Cease this destructive clinging to logic and continue with your interview." Was I looking at a murdered character who happened to be an actor, or a perverse actor who'd allowed himself to be possessed by a character? I remembered that the ancient Greek actors prayed to Apollo for just such a possession. "OK," I thought, "let's carry on and see what happens to this lunatic." He was humming gently to himself, waiting patiently for the next 2 acts to pass until he could enter for the curtain call, expecting, no doubt, a rapturous greeting from an adoring audience. Was it the hidden actor or the character I was watching? Time to get on with the interview. "May I ask where you were born, Sir Roderick?" I began. "You may indeed," he boomed, "and what is more, I shall tell you. To begin at the beginning, I expect you know the little Welsh fishing village of Llaregeb." I tried to say something about Dylan Thomas and Under Milk Wood, but he rattled on. "It was a few miles inland from there, and on a Bible-black night in the valley of Cwm Sosbanfach, in the pit village of Berwionadan, that my parents, Dai and Mifanwi ap Robert, received the blessing of God in the person of the babe Rodri Iorwerth ap Robert." "You?" I said, just to make sure. "Who else?" he answered. "My father was a pit deputy and a lay preacher in the Cynical Baptist Chapel. My mother kept house and was the chapel organist as well as a prize winner in the National Eisteddfod." I noticed that Sir Roderick's voice was acquiring a certain lilt, not to say a certain passage of speech. "When I was 14, my da took me down the pit and showed me round. I already knew about fire damp and flooding and dust on the lungs. We sat on our heels eating our snap of bread and jam. No butter, boy, it gives you heartburn. And he says to me, 'Well, boy, which is it to be, down here or university?' I think it took me all of 10 seconds to decide." Sir Roderick paused reflectively and looked at me. He raised his eyebrows. "University, I went it right first time, and it was a wonderful world." "You joined the Dramatic Society?" "Well, I tried. They were doing Henry V, and they kindly suggested I read for Llewellyn, the Welshman eating the leek and all that nonsense. I thought, there's nasty. Why shouldn't I do chorus? Well, can you imagine?" Here Sir Roderick went into full valley mode. "Oh, for a muse of fire to ascend the highest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the war I carry like—" Oh, no, it wouldn't do. So I got the vowels ironed out and polished the consonants, learned breath control, and tricked myself out with the old tongue twisters. And got noticed. You've got to be noticed or nothing happens. I could hear the second act closing, polite applause clittering away, and the cast would be in the green room very soon. I knew already from the play about Algernon and the 2 wives and all that, there were just 2 more things I needed to know. "Tell me about your honours." That's always an easy one. "You mean the CBE? That always gives Algernon great amusement. It was, of course, for services to the YMCA. And you needn't snigger either, young man." I straightened my face. He went on. "The knighthood was a little odd. It was a local rag in Berwionadan, and the editor decided on a campaign to boost circulation. It was all based on a long-running TV programme I still occasionally do. You may have seen it, The Stars at Knightsbridge. It got an awful lot of people into the theatre, and I still get letters from youngsters. The cast came in, some of them still in character, some reaching for the bottles of water on the tables down the middle of the green room. Sir Roderick began to look a little dim, almost misty. I bent down to pick up my briefcase, and when I sat up again, he was gone. I looked round, but all I could see was the hat, coat, and scarf on the chair. And gone, too, was my suspension of disbelief. But the magical realism was still there, and I had my copy.
Ellis, that was brilliant. Your stories get better and better, and we look forward to next week's tale. Now it's time to tell you what's happening in our town this week. Let's kick off with the summer fair at St Wilfrid's Church Hall. That's at 11 o'clock on Saturday, August the 3rd. There will be raffles, cash prizes, a tombola, great stalls and plenty of refreshments. The kids can even have their faces painted and there will be lots of games. The fair will end at 2 p.m. There are 2 other events on Saturday. The Lifeboat Bazaar in the Town Hall from 10 until noon, and then later you could visit the Selsey Horticultural Society's summer show at the Selsey Centre from 2 till 4. There will be beer and rounders on the cricket field on Sunday at 11. Teams of 7 are competing. Last year there were 20. The competition will be opened by Steve Power, who is the Wave breakfast show presenter, and he will also present the winning certificates. You can enter your team on the day. There's a pond dip at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, when your kids can find out what's lurking below the surface of the pond. It's amazing. Gather at the RSPB Visitor Centre, Selsey Road, Siddlesham. The cost is £3 per child, but only £1.50 for RSPB members. On Thursday at 2 p.m. at St Wilfrid's Chapel, Church Norton, your children can try their hand at craft activities, provided they are accompanied by a parent or guardian. Try your hand at making a stained glass window and later perhaps explore the wildlife of Church Norton.